All right, so welcome back to another video. Should be pretty short. If you got to this, you are now up to, and let me go back to the pre-work page. You have, that's my pre-work page, and notice I've only done this first part of it. But up to this point, you've done the hello world, you've done the data types, and now we're up to the void methods. And so once again, the void methods, this video is just going to be a very short little demo. Read through this page that I set up for you, but also go to the textbook, the Think Java, go to chapter 4, and again, work your way through it. There's a lot of good information there, and there's good information beyond void methods. There's stuff there. It'll talk about things like using the math class, which will be important for us at various points in time, and et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, so just a quick video just to give you some of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to be back here in Replit. I've logged in using GitHub, and I'm bringing back up the same REPL, and I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this folder Pre-03. Now, I didn't make a video for data types because I had already made one that in the general sense that wasn't specifically tied to the pre-work. So I want to get this to you quickly, so I just did this here. And I'm going to make something here. Let's make a sample. Let's call this greeter.java. And we're going to have our usual public class greeter, same name, opening close bracket, and public static void main string args. And I'll have system out print line hello world, just to get something working. So I'm going to open my shell. Now I'm going to go to cd pre-03, so cd space c pre-03, java c, I'll just do a dir just to show, or an ls, java c greeter, wait till it finishes, I guess. I mean, I could start typing, it would buffer. And Java greeter. Woohoo! So this is a method, it's this unit of code that we can put into a Java program. And we can actually have multiple methods. So we need the same for now, public, because for now we'll just have it as public. Static, we don't have to worry about the staticness. And if you read the page here, the actual textbook here, it'll go through, saying it's going to make something called 3-line public static. So it's going to give you more details there as to what everything means, and it's going to be void. And what void means is it means it's not communicating back anything. It's just going to be a chunk of code, and we're going to call this method greet. And we'll call it greet, and we'll just have nothing in the parentheses, which says no parameters. And what we're going to say here is we'll say system out print line, hey. And that's a method. So notice that it's almost the same as main, but main is special. Main, you need one main in your program, and it's where your program starts. Now, if I compile this, I'll hit the up arrow twice to get to the Java C line. And then I go to the Java line. Notice that it just runs hello world. That's because greet, we've never said to use greet. If we want to use greet, it's very simple. We just call greet. And greet has no parameters. And again, more details in the textbook about this, so look at that. So we give it no parameters here. And now it runs both. And if we don't want to do anything in our main, we can just get rid of that. And if we want, we can, oh, let's call greet twice. Hey, not a big deal. And that's all it is. And we can make as many of these as we want. Now, I want to show you an error here. If I cut this and I put this outside of the class, we get an error. And the error might be a little harder to understand. It's saying there, class interface or enum expected, because this is not a class. Your file has to be a class. These imports are something special. So I'm going to cut this and put it back inside of the greeter class, and that will be good. And so I'm going to actually write another one. We can also communicate information to our methods. So notice here we've got this thing inside the parentheses, string args. So we can make public static void, and we can say formal greet. And we're going to take into it a string named title. And so what this says is we want to have one thing into formal greet, and it's going to be a string type, and it's going to be a title, and then we're going to say system out print line and good morning plus title. And we'll just leave that. Actually, let's make it title. Let's make it name. Now, if we compile this, well, we're missing a semicolon. So we'll come back here, put in the semicolon, compile it. Run it. Oh, we haven't called it yet. So let's call it. Let us call, and let's change the name from formal greet to named greet. Now, if I just do this, it gives us an error. Why? Because named greet needs a string, because we said, hey, we need a string here, but we didn't give it a string. Well, let's say if we give it like 23. And you should be trying these things, experimenting. You know, if it doesn't work, it's okay. And it says, hey, that's no good, not the right type. So I'll just put my name in there. And now we can say, good morning, Mike. You know, good morning, Sue. And each time we call it, when we call, it's going to call greet here. It's going to go do this thing, come back. Greet here, do its thing, come back. Greet, named greet with Mike, so name becomes Mike, come back each time, and it's going to come back. And basically, that's pretty much it. So let's just do one other quick one. I want to keep this video kind of short. And again, most of the information is going to be in the text. It's just to give you a totally worked through example. So let's make public static void generation greet. And it's going to get a string for the name and an int for the number. And we'll say system out, and I know this is contrived, good morning plus name plus the plus number. You know, like And we'll put in a call to it. And we'll call this, what do we call it? Generation greet. And so we can call generation greet. And we can say Charles, whoops, using my editor's keystroke, and 3. Because a friend of mine, is the third. His name is Charles, and so we will go with that. So we're going to do our compile. And let me clear this just because I guess because the size is a little wonky. And then we'll just run. Well, that's not going to work because I put the period in there. Let me make this bigger still. And good morning, Charles the third, or the 3. Okay. Now, order is important. So I just want to show you one last thing. If I make a change here, whoops, and I copy that and I paste it, and I put the number first. If I try to compile this, or if I do, if I compile this, it gives me an error because 3 doesn't work because it's expecting up here the first thing has to be a name, a string, and then the second one is a number. So the order matters. It can't just be like, oh, put them where they belong. It's going to put this in the first and then the other in the second. Similarly, if I only have one argument, it's not going to work. But if it's both of them, then it's good. So those are static methods. The last thing I'll show with this is we can call one from another. Let's go from named greet. We can then call greet. So you can call a method from basically anywhere. A method can call a method. Main is just a method. So I'm just going to do this last run. And we'll see that good morning, Mike, then calls hey, etc. All right, so as a very last step here, I'm going to click on this version control. And I'm going to be added void method samples or demos. And I'll commit and push. Wait for it to be done. So I can come to my GitHub here and notice that, okay, there it is. It's all here. It's all good. So you want to just do that confirmation. All right, so that's the void types. Now the chapter itself and the stuff you're going to work through has much more than that. It talks about flow of execution. There's a lot of stuff in there. So you want to go through the full chapter. But I wanted to give you this just so you had just the basics example. I'm going to try to give this to you for each of the chapters. Okay, so that's it for today.